Hey there Star Wars fans, and welcome to another Bosk's Bounty video. Now in this video is going to be something slightly different today, as we're going to be doing a tier list. That's right, I'm fully jumping on that bandwagon, and in this video I'm going to be ranking the Star Wars films using the online tier list. So if this video works out and you guys like it, then I might do some future videos where I rank certain figure lines, or maybe figures within a particular line. So let me know in the comments your thoughts on that idea. I personally think the tier list can be quite good fun, and hopefully we'll have some fun today. Quite often people that comment on my videos ask me what I think of certain films. Now I'd admit that it is usually The Last Jedi. So in this video I'm going to give you my thoughts on each film and explain the reasons for why I've placed them where I have. So okay, this video could get slightly controversial depending on what side of the fence you're on. But of course all that's going to come later, as I am going to be doing the films in order of when they were released. So we're going to be starting with Star Wars A New Hope and ending with Solo. Okay then, so before we get started, don't forget to hit the like button, that really does help the video. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to know whether you agree with my list and what changes you'd like to make to the order. So first up we have Star Wars A New Hope. So this is the first Star Wars film that I ever saw, probably in around 1980-81, I was about 5. So this to me is obviously going to be one of the best films. It is one of the best Star Wars films. It's the original, it's the classic. I don't think I'm going to put it in godlike because it has aged now. So basically my son, who's 5, he actually can't really watch this film. He prefers the newer films, basically purely because obviously the special effects and everything looks so much better these days. It is a bit of a shame because I could probably watch this maybe 10-15 years ago and still think it looked pretty cool, but I think now with the way films are going, the special effects just, you know, they just do look a bit dated. So we are just going to grab this one and we are going to put it into almost godlike, so we're going to put that one there. Now obviously the things that I did like about the film, you know, I love the cantina scene. The amount of aliens that are in there, all the different creatures, blew my mind when I was a kid. You got Han Solo and Chewie, you know, just great characters. The best villain in all of cinema, in Darth Vader. So what's not to like? Obviously, Star Wars, classic film, and has to go pretty high up in the list. But it can't go right at the top because there is room for another film right at the top, and that of course is The Empire Strikes Back. So this obviously does have to go into godlike status. For me, it is the best Star Wars film. It's going to be a bit strange what I say now because it is the best Star Wars film, but it's not my favourite Star Wars film. The reason I say that is because the next one that's coming up, The Return of the Jedi, is actually my favourite Star Wars film, and that's because I can actually put The Return of the Jedi on at any point in time and it'll entertain me every single time. The Empire Strikes Back is a little bit dark, obviously. You know, it makes you care about the characters. They're in peril. Luke's getting schooled by Darth Vader. Han Solo's getting frozen in carbonite. You actually care about the characters. You actually worry about them. And that's why it's such a good film. Next up is Return of the Jedi. Now, Return of the Jedi, as I just mentioned, is my favourite Star Wars film. And that is purely because, as I mentioned, I can just watch it at any point in time. And it entertains me every single time. You've got the whole first act of the film, which is the whole Jabba's palace scene with the Rancor. And obviously you do have the Sarlacc pit as well with the barge and the skiffs. Totally amazing. The green lightsaber, everything about that's just brilliant. Then of course you do have the Battle of Endor. Now if you don't like the Ewoks, that's fair enough. A lot of people don't like the Ewoks, but I was actually 7 when I saw this film, so the Ewoks don't actually bother me at all. But what I did like was the biker scout and the speeder bikes. That scene was just, for me, as a 7-year-old in the cinema, was absolutely amazing. And then of course you do have the final duel between Vader and Luke Skywalker, and the music while that's all happening is just amazing. And of course the space battle's not too bad either. So everything about the Return of the Jedi I love, so that is why that is also going to go into godlike status. Next up we have the Phantom Menace Episode 1. So this came out in 1999, and so we're in the 20th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. And for me, when I saw this film, I was a little bit older than I would have been when I saw the original films. So it didn't actually offend me that much. I actually quite liked the film. There was obviously certain bits of the film that, you know, I would have enjoyed had I been a little bit younger. For instance, Jar Jar Binks. I didn't actually find the comedy of him that funny. But he didn't offend me that much, you know. And I do know that if you were to see this film as a younger person, you would definitely enjoy it, because my son, he's 5, he actually loves this film. He loves Jar Jar Binks. He loves Darth Maul. And yeah, as I said, this film just doesn't offend me that much. So I know a lot of people don't like the prequels. I think they're okay, you know. So that's exactly where this film's going to go. It's going to go in the okay tier. So let's try and drag that up now. Yeah, so the things that I do like about the film, obviously the Darth Maul Duel of Fates at the end is probably one of the best lightsaber duels in all of the saga. So I like the character of Qui-Gon Jinn. I was a bit gutted he died. I thought he was a really good character. Obviously Ewan McGregor does a good job as Obi-Wan Kenobi. And just in general, I think it's a pretty good film. Yes, doesn't offend me, and it's going to go into the okay tier. On to episode 2, The Attack of the Clones. So this is possibly the film that I struggle to watch the most now. It's probably the last film of the saga that I would go to when I'm looking at my collection of films that I would want to watch. Possibly there might be one, which we'll get to later. But yeah, it's the whole CGI thing. They just went way overboard with the CGI. I think at the time they were sort of at the forefront of that technology and they just overused it completely. And if you watch it now, it's almost like watching a computer game. In fact, you know, the Clone Wars cartoon series isn't too dissimilar, but obviously when you're watching that, you know you're watching actually a cartoon series. So it's supposed to be a film. The whole romance side of it between Anakin and Padme as well is a bit dodgy. The acting's a bit dodgy, a little bit wooden. But obviously the whole storyline of it with the rise of the clones and everything, you know, it's a great storyline. I did like those scenes where all the clones are lining up and everything. So I'm afraid it does these days have to go into the pretty awful section, I'm afraid. On to Revenge of the Sith, so episode 3. Now, I actually really like this film. I think some of the scenes are overdone, maybe. I think part of it does suffer from the CGI that I did mention about the Attack of the Clones, but not so much. I think they improved it slightly and it didn't look so cartoonish. But yeah, in general, I do love the film. I love the demise of Anakin and how he's being turned and manipulated by the Emperor or Palpatine, whatever you want to call him. The end battle, although it goes on for a little bit too long, is a great lightsaber scene. So many Phase 2 clones, loads of different Phase 2 clones. You've got the 501st marching into the Jedi temple and essentially killing everyone, but you know, it's a little bit dark in that sense. But all in all, it's an enjoyable film, and I do like General Grievous, and I do like the Yoda battle with Sidious. So yeah, this one for me is going to go into the pretty awesome section. So yep, so the tier's coming along nice, looking pretty good. We've got 4 to go. So let's get straight on to The Force Awakens. This is the first film of the sequel trilogy. And when this film came out, obviously there's so much hype around it. You know, what's it going to be about? Is it going to be about Luke Skywalker, his children, Han Solo's children? And to me, the film didn't actually disappoint too much. I did really enjoy the film. It's obviously got some elements of A New Hope. I wouldn't go as far as calling it a reboot, but obviously you can tell that it does have some similar elements for the original New Hope film. Obviously you've got the desert planet, you've got a young hopeful that meets a mentor, all that kind of stuff. So there's mirror images of A New Hope, but that didn't actually bother me too much. It was, you know, I actually really did enjoy the film, and I still do enjoy the film. My kids love it. It's a great family movie that you can sit down and watch. It's not going to be as good as the original trilogy, obviously, for me, but I think it is up there with Revenge of the Sith. It is going to go into pretty awesome. So that's The Force Awakens. On to Rogue One, which was the next release film and the first film to be a standalone film. So obviously, as you know, this is all about gaining the plans to the Death Star, which I thought was a really, really good concept. And in terms of, did I like the film? Yes, I did. I absolutely loved the film. It really had all of that original trilogy feel to it. I think the director got it absolutely spot on. You got maybe a few too many characters from the original trilogy, you know, seeing them bump into the Walrus Man and all that in the middle of Jeddah, that was probably a little bit too much. But I loved Tarkin, what they did there. I think the special effects was almost there for that, not quite right. Did look a little bit weird from time to time, but you know, to have the balls to try it, I thought it was really, really good. I love the Jeddah scenes, the Scout Walker, the Imperial tank, and then obviously the Battle of Scarif. Very similar to the Battle of Endor, but with so much more going on with today's special effects. Absolutely love that. And obviously for him to bring in unseen footage from the original New Hope film, you know, with the pilots and everything, I thought that was brilliant. Absolute genius. I was sitting there absolutely loving it in the cinema. So this one for me, Rogue One, goes into the almost godlike status. It's a long alongside A New Hope there for different reasons. It's not quite as good as Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, but it's a solid film for me. Okay, so probably the one you've all been waiting for, on to episode 8, The Last Jedi. Now, I don't want to be too negative about this film because I don't in general like being too negative about Star Wars, and you know, it's something that I love, so I'm not going to say that this film's ruined my childhood or anything like that, but I have to say that in general I don't like the film, and I actually can't watch the film anymore. So I've seen it probably 3 times, and there's just certain things about the film that I just don't like, that, and it's probably also the first Star Wars film anyway, that I've sat in the cinema and actually thought, God, what am I actually watching here? And it kind of started with the whole Hux joke at the very beginning. That just, for me, just didn't fit at all. It actually made me like cringe a little bit. And you know, comedy in Star Wars should flow, and that just felt so forced. You've also got Poe Dameron taking on that massive dreadnought all by himself. And to me, it's almost like you don't need to care about these characters. As I mentioned about The Empire Strikes Back, you know, they're in peril in that film. As I mentioned, Luke Skywalker are getting absolutely schooled by Darth Vader. You've got Han Solo and Chewie and everyone on the run, and they eventually get caught. To me, in The Last Jedi, you just don't really fear for the heroes. They're never in any danger, or it doesn't seem like they're in any danger. And when you don't have that, it's hard to really care about the characters, and therefore it kind of ruins the film a little bit. Same with Rey. You know, she's at the end there with the Battle of Crate. You know, she's flying around shooting 3 TIE fighters down in one hit, whereas in A New Hope you've got Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, who's actually really used to flying the Millennium Falcon and using those guns. You know, they're tearing about trying to knock down 4 TIE fighters between them, and it's just those little things like that really sort of got to me about the film. So it's got nothing to do about Luke Skywalker not igniting the green and he didn't do this and he didn't do that. For me, it was more about other things in the film, like the comedy. It just didn't fit for me, as I mentioned. The Leia scene was just dreadful. I thought that was a perfect opportunity to actually kill her off in the film. Things I did like about the film, I did like the R2-D2 scene with Luke Skywalker. I thought that was a lovely touch. The Yoda bit, he looked a little bit odd, but all in all, I quite like that. And the Battle of Crate, obviously, from a sort of aesthetic view, it looked great. You know, it looked lovely. That you can't deny that the film looks beautiful. It looks great. In that way, it's really well made. It's just the decisions that were made in the film and some of the comedy just didn't sit for me. And yeah, it's just one of those things. I can't be too negative about it. And it might sound that I'm being negative about it, but as I said, it's not one of those ones where it's ruined my childhood and oh my God, they did this, they did that. For me, it's just not a good film. And it's unfortunate because it's a Star Wars film. And obviously when you start saying that a Star Wars film isn't any good, then people start getting a bit defensive and whatever. But I'm not going to get into any arguments with people on Twitter and social media. For me, it's just a bad Star Wars film. And for that reason, it's going to go into the pretty awful section alongside Attack of the Clones. Possibly lower than Attack of the Clones, but obviously I've only got 5 sections here and I didn't want it to be out all on its own there because that would be pretty mean and a bit unfair. On to the final one, which is Solo, A Star Wars Story. So that's the most recent Star Wars film that we've actually had. And I actually really like this film. So I know a lot of people didn't go to see it because on the back of The Last Jedi, I don't know whether it was a boycott or what, and it didn't do so well at the box office. But what can I say? I went to see it twice in the cinema, I think, once on my own and then I took my son. I actually really like this film. So, you know, I was a bit worried about the actor playing Han Solo and someone else playing him apart that's not Harrison Ford. I was a bit worried about that, but I think all in all he pulled it off. The guy that was playing Lando, he had that down to a T. He was, as soon as he spoke, I thought, God, you know, that is a young Lando. They've got that absolutely nailed. So as the film progressed, I didn't really sort of miss Harrison Ford in any way. I wasn't going to go in there thinking, oh, Han Solo is Harrison Ford. It's got to be Harrison Ford. So I went in there with an open mind. And as I said, I actually quite liked the film. It was good. I liked the way they introduced Chewie. The other characters of the film, so you've got Beckett and Rio and Val. I really like those characters. They mentioned Bosk in it, which is also good. The whole monorail train scene was great. That was, you know, that had me gripped to to my seat. I really like that. I thought Dryden Voss was a good villain, and obviously you got the whole situation with Kira going on there, which I thought was quite good. And all in all, it was an enjoyable film. You know, the Millennium Falcon, plenty of that in there. The Kessel Run, yeah, just an enjoyable Star Wars film, pretty inoffensive. And what can you say? It goes into, oh, let's see, where should I put this? I think it goes into pretty awesome. Yeah, that's definitely where I'll put that one, I think. So there you go then, guys. That is my tier list for the Star Wars movies. How do you think I've ranked them? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. So there you go. I've got godlike, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. I've got almost godlike with the original Star Wars, A New Hope, and Rogue One. Then in the pretty awesome section, I've got Revenge of the Sith, Force Awakens, and Solo. In the OK section, I've got Episode 1, Phantom Menace. And then in the pretty awful, I do have Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and Episode 8, The Last Jedi. So let me know then, guys. Have you enjoyed this video? I've certainly had fun doing it. It's been a little bit off the cuffs. There's been a few ums and ahs in there, so I apologise for that now. But yeah, let me know what you thought of this tier list video. It's something new for the channel. And thank you very much for watching, as per usual. And we shall see you on the next one.